So good morning student. Once again I am welcoming all of you in this class of English class 11th. So students, we have already started our first chapter, that is the portrait of the lady, and some part of the lesson we had already discussed. About Kushwant Singh, who is the author of this chapter, that also short biography I already told you, clear? Then about the chapter like the relation of grandmother and the grandchild. This thing is shown by Kushwant Singh with his own words. He is drawing a sketch, he is making a portrait with the help of his words. Okay. So the first part, as I told you, this whole chapter is divided into three phases, clear? That is first, second and third phase. The very first phase, that is the childhood days of author Kushwant Singh. He is explaining how the grandmother and the grandchild, they are doing all the work together. Grandmother was also enjoying to do the duties of grandchild, and even grandchild, he is also enjoying the company of grandmother. Okay, so we had seen how the child was going to school, how he was studying, how they come back, clear? And after coming back also, what are the activities that are done by grandchild, and that was enjoyed by grandmother. Now I am going to start the second phase of this chapter. See children, this is phase 2. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. In the beginning, I already told you that the parents of this person, Mr. Kushwant Singh, they has kept that child in the village along with grandmother because they want to settle them in the city area. Now, when they settle, afterwards what happened? They call the grandchild and the grandmother to the city. That was a turning point in our friendship. Our friendship means grandmother and grandchild's friendship. So that is a turning point. Even you see the village people, they are not at all comfortable in the city life because their life is totally different and the life of city area, that is totally different. So we had seen, although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. In the village we had seen the grandmother, she was going with the grandchild to the school. But here he is telling, now they are living in the same room they are sharing, the grandchild and the grandmother, but the grandmother, she is not coming to the school. I used to go an English school in a motor bus, and the child is telling, I was going in a motor bus. Nowadays this is very common, most of the school they are having their own motor buses. That also the children of the school, they have to go in the same bus. Now here we are saying that the bus is there and the child was going in the bus. Now, there were no dogs in the street and she took to feed sparrows in the courtyard of our house. Now children, this comparison you see, okay, that time dogs were there, grandmother, she was feeding dogs, but here in the city no dogs are there. So what she is supposed to do? She has to see one more animal, one more character here, that is the sparrows. She was feeding the sparrows. Here in the picture also we are seeing a lady is sitting over there and some sparrows are there and she is feeding them. As the years rolled by, we see less of each other. Rolled by in the sense passed away. Okay, years are passing, numbers of years are already passed. Now the child is not getting time to sit with grandmother, and even grandmother, she is also not disturbing the child. So they are not at all meeting together. Sometimes she continued to wake me up and get me ready for the school. But some of the activities, like to make the child get up from the bed, okay, to make him ready for the school, those activities are done by grandmother here. Now, when I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. Okay, this is the usual work of grandmother when she was there in the village, because she knew that the child is reading some alphabets and that time she was reading the scripture. But here also she is asking that what your teacher is teaching you, what she had taught. I would tell her some English words and little things of Western science. Okay. Nowadays this is very common in our books also from second, third onwards. This type of Western science learning is there. We have EVS also, we have social also, everything is there. So in that case, when the when the grandmother, she was asking that what your teacher is teaching, so he is telling some English words, okay, some English words and some science. And then the learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes principle, the world being around us. These are all the things which are there in our science, in our physics also, in our bio also, these things are given over there. So those things the child is telling the grandmother. And now this made her unhappy. See, this unhappiness shows that she is not at all, she simply doesn't like the things, okay. That is why she is unhappy when the child is telling that today my teacher taught me this one, this science, this English. So she is not at all happy with the things the child is telling her. She could not help me with my lessons. Okay. First reason is there, she is not at all able to help the child now. First reason. And then she did not believe in the things they taught at the English school. The second reason is this one. She is not at all believing that what is this force of gravity, what is this Archimedes principle, why you are learning this language English, because that time India and Pakistan was not separated. No? So on that basis the grandmother doesn't like that why my child is learning all the things. And then the English school, that was distress, that there was no teaching about God and scripture. This is the third reason why she is unhappy, okay, because she is believing in God too much. But here in this English school, there is no teaching about God, there is no teaching about scripture, any of our great books, clear? So that is the main reason of her sorrow and anxiety. She is not at all happy. First reason, she doesn't understand the things, she is not able to help the child, she doesn't like English language, and moreover that this is the thing, there is no teaching of God. These are the reason why grandmother doesn't like grandchild's English learning. And then one day I announced that we were being given music lesson. Now one more incident happened in the life of grandmother. When the child is telling, today my teacher taught me all about music. Clear? Some music lessons she had given me. She was very disturbed. When grandmother listened that music is also taught in the school, she is totally disturbed. To her, music had lewd association. Lewd association means indecent or obscene. Clear? This music, there is no value in the cultured life. For this old age people, there is no value of music in a cultured people's life. That is why she is thinking there is no need of such type of lessons. And then it was a monopoly of harlots and beggars. No? One more reason she is thinking that this is the monopoly. Monopoly in the sense when person are using one particular thing for that particular area, that is called as monopoly. So according to her, this is monopoly of harlots. Harlots in the sense prostitutes. Clear? You know, all of you know about prostitutes. So that type of ladies they are using, and one more people, that is beggar, they are using this music. So what is the need to teach the child with such kind of lessons? So she is totally disturbed. She is very much annoyed. But she said nothing. No? Most of the time children, when some of the person like our adults, our parents, they don't like the things what we are doing. So what they are doing? Nowadays this is very common, they used to shout on you. No? They used to scold you. No? And sometime this is commonly happen that they just give you a slap. Okay? This is a very common thing. But here we had seen that grandmother, she is unhappy, she is disturbed. But she doesn't say a single word. She was silent, she was quiet. And then she really talked to me after that. Okay, and after this incident, after this music lesson incident, she is not at all talking with me. Rarely she is talking, some few words. Whatever I asked, that only she was fulfilling, but she is not even replying. Understood? Here in this picture we are seeing these dancers, they are the beggars. Okay, they are dancing on this music. So according to grandmother, music is not at all good for the child. Now, this is our phase 2. Understood all of you? In our phase 1, we had seen the childhood days of grandchild. Now, in our phase 2, we had seen when the child was small even, he was nearly in 1st to 5th standard, that was the age. So, that time also the grandmother was with the child, but what kind of work she was doing, some kind of disturbance also in the mind of grandmother. Now, in our phase 3, we are going to see when I went up to the university. Clear? First stage when the child was so small, second age when the child was in the school, there is a third stage when the child was in the university. I was given a room of my own. Clear? Now here you see that the physical, the thing when the child and the grandmother, they were living together in the room, that was also separated here. The child has got his own room to live. And then the common link of friendship was snapped. Snapped means broken. Clear? So that relationship which was there along with the grandmother and the grandchild when they were in the same room, that was also snapped here. And now, my grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. Clear? Seclusion in the sense, children, away from people. And resignation, you all know, when people are resigning. So, she accepted that seclusion. In the sense that silence which was there now between the grandchild and the grandmother, she accepted it. But that exception in the form of rejection. Clear? Like she was not at all saying anything, she resigned. That now the child is simply not living with me. So, she rarely left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. Now, how she is spending her time when the child is not there with the grandmother, she used to spin the wheel. Spin wheel, you know, no, that what Gandhiji is doing, no? That a big circle is there. He used to spin and spin. That is called as spinning wheel. So, here grandmother is also doing the same thing. And then from sunrise to sunset, she sat by her own wheel, spinning and reciting prayer. Now, two works she used to do from morning to evening. She used to sit, she used to recite the prayer, and she used to spin the wheel. These are the two activities. This is a common activity of grandmother when the child is separated. Okay? And then only in the afternoon she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. But some of the time, some quality time, when she was not doing these two things, she was feeding the sparrows also. While she sat in the veranda breaking the bread into little bits, hundreds of little birds collected round, creating a veritable bedlam of chirruping. So, during this afternoon time when she was feeding the sparrows, good number of sparrows they collected together, and they used to shout and shout. That chirruping is the sound of sparrow. Clear? So, many of the sparrows sitting together in the veranda, and they used to shout and shout near grandmother. Some came and perched on her lid. Now see, this beautiful picture you see. Some of the birds, they are sitting upon the legs. Other are sitting on the shoulders and some are on the head. Now you imagine a person who is covered with such kind of birds. Some are sitting over here, some are here, some are here. Everywhere birds are sitting over. So could you imagine? What would you do if such kind of birds are sitting upon you? You have to shoo them away. But she is not doing such things. Many of the birds, they are coming and they are sitting upon the lady. And then she smiled. Okay. Now one more character of this lady you see. Lots of birds are there. We people are simply irritated if such kind of things are happening. But she is smiling here. That is, she is very calm and quiet. In the beginning also, author is telling that she is simply like a winter landscape. Now here we can imagine. When the lady is very silent with such kind of disturbance also, we can imagine she is simply like a landscape, winter landscape. And never shooed them away. This also quality of this lady, she is never shooing them. Understood? And then it used to be the happiest half hour of the day. And that time, that particular half hour of that day, that's supposed to be the loveliest time what she is spending. That means she loves animal very much. Now as the lesson is proceeding, as the lesson is going on, we are seeing number of good traits of this lady. She is very much lovable, not with the humans but with the animals also. Clear? She never shout, she never show her anger. No? That kind of people rarely we are having in our neighborhood or anywhere. No? But she is simply like that. And now, when I decided to go abroad for further studies, I was sure that my grandmother would be upset. Now the grandchild, he knew that the relation of me and my grandmother is very precious. When I supposed to tell her that I am going abroad for the studies, she supposed to be upset. This is a common thing, okay? And then I would be away for 5 years. For 5 long years he is going. He is going to be separated from the grandmother. And at her age, one could never tell. No? You know, at her age means she is already old enough. In the beginning, the narrator is telling she is already old, that there is no old age for her. Definitely at this time, when we are telling a person that your happiest thing, your loveliest thing is going to be separated from you, that is the grandchild. So, negative impact upon the grandmother. But my grandmother could. She was not even sentimental. One more character of grandmother, she is not at all sentimental. When grandchild is telling that mother I am going for 5 years, 5 long years, but she is not at all sentimental. And then she came to leave me at the railway station but did not talk or show any emotion. When our people, they are going to be separated from us, what we supposed to do? We have to shout a lot. We have to cry. We have to make a loud voice. This is a common emotion of a person. Clear? But she is not at all showing any kind of emotion. She did not cry. She did not speak. She was silent at that time also. And then her lips move in prayer. That time also she was saying some of the things. That is, she is repeating and repeating her prayer. Her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling beads of rosary. These two common activity, what she is doing every day, that also she is doing, counting the beads and saying some of the things. That is prayer. Now here we are having a picture of train. The child is going. And then silently she kissed on my forehead, and when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. Only one thing she is doing. She kissed upon the forehead of the child. This portion is called as forehead. There she is kissing. And this is the last physical contact between the child and the grandmother. Okay? And then, but that was not so. Clear? Not so in the sense that was not the end. Our friendship was not going to be ended here. And then after 5 years I came back home and was met by her at the station. 5 years are passed. Now you see, 5 years almost passed. Again she is waiting there on the same station where she left the child. For the child, to welcome the child, she is waiting there. And then she did not took a day older. Again the person is telling. He is telling that now she is not even get old enough. No older time is there. She is as it is old. And then she still had no limit for the words. While she claps me in her arm, I could hear her reciting prayer. Claps in the sense when we are taking somebody in our arms. Clear? That time also the child is listening that my grandmother is saying something, and that is again the prayer. Okay, so no difference is there. Before 5 years also she was as it is. She simply kissed the child upon the forehead, and after 5 years also when she was clasping the child into her arms, that time also she is reciting the prayer. It shows she is very much religious. And then even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest movement were with the sparrows, whom she fed longer and with the frivolous rebuke. Now here we see that grandmother, when the child is coming back to the home, she is again feeding the sparrows. And then rebukes, and frivolous rebuke means light-hearted scolding. Okay? In the previous paragraph, it was shown that some of the birds they were sitting here, some are sitting here upon the shoulder, some are sitting on the leg, but she was not saying any of the word. But here she is scolding them, but very silent, very sweet scolding. Now when we want some kind of deny that don't do this, we have to shout upon the person, upon the animal or somebody else, clear? But she is scolding also, but very soft, very polite shrew is there, understood? And then in the evening a change came over her, but suddenly something happened. First time child had seen that a change is there in grandmother's attitude, and that was she did not pray. Every day she is praying and praying from very early ages, but this is the first day she is not praying. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum and started to sing. Now, the negative thing what she is telling that in the beginning grandmother is telling that she doesn't like the things, she doesn't like the music lessons, but here she herself collected a drum, a dholak she collected, she was beating the dholak so loudly, and even she called the ladies of the neighborhood also, and all of them, they were sitting together and they were singing. For several hours she thumbed the sagging skin of the dilapidated trunk and sang for the homecoming warrior. And what she is singing here? The homecoming of the warrior. In Hindi we say Desh Bhakti ke gaane. Clear? Like a soldier is back to the house and the people are singing. So that singing with the help of this dholak along with the neighborhood ladies she is doing here. And now, when we had to pursue her to stop, avoid overstraining. Pursued in the sense to stop. Okay? When we are telling something, please don't do this, that is called as pursued. So the people of the family, the mother, the father, the child, they are telling grandmother, please stop it. But that was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. And that time she is not at all praying. She is singing and singing, enjoying the time. The next moment she was taken ill. But this overstraining for such kind of old people who are nearly 90 to 100 years old. Overstrain means definitely something happening in the body. So next day what happened? She was getting ill. It was a mild fever. Fever was there. The doctor told us that it would go. Fever is there, and when doctor was called, doctor is telling that it would go. But my grandmother thought differently. She told us that her end was near. Now, see, some kind of imagination, some kind of perception in the body, in the mind of this grandmother, because she is very religious. Direct connection with the God. So, some kind of that perception is there in the body that I am going to die. And she announced this also, that I am going to die. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. Last chapter in the sense some time is still left, and she knew that some time is still left for my life. So that time she did what? She stopped praying. She was not going to waste any more time talking to us. And that time she doesn't like even talk to anybody else. We protested, but she ignored our protest. And we are telling that grandmother talk with us, grandmother please don't do this, grandmother please behave in this way. That kind of protest the family members were doing, because they were caring about the grandmother. But she did not even listen a single protest. And then she lay peacefully in the bed praying and telling her beads. That time she was on her bed. Still she is counting the beads, still she is praying. And now, even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless finger. Suddenly, the lips were stopped, the fingers were lifeless, and the rosary which was there in her hand, that was on the ground. And now, a peaceful pallor spread on her face and we knew that she was dead. Here, this rib sign shows that she is dead now. She is not at all, no movement is there in the body, and very silently, very calmly she was laying on the bed. And now, we lifted her off the bed and, as the customary, laid her on the ground and covered her a red shroud. After a few hours of mourning, we left her alone to make arrangement for her funeral. No? In different kind of family, different religion, funeral activities are different. So here in the family they covered the body with a red shroud. Shroud in the sense cloth. Clear? So with the red cloth they had covered the body, and now after covering the body they are like the custom is there, they are busy with the funeral activities. And now in the evening we went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. Clear? A stretcher is there in the room. On that stretcher the body is out, and after that they are going for the going to cremate the body. Now the sun was setting and had lit her room with a veranda a blaze of golden light. Now you can imagine this imagination, when the grandmother is dead, that time suddenly that sun rays were there, and on that area, on that particular area where the body was kept, it shows that from heaven some of the angels are there and they have come just to take that beautiful soul into the heaven. That is why this is the imagination of the author. That is why this golden light, it shows that God is directly coming to the earth and God is taking this soul, this beautiful soul, to the heaven. That is why. Now after this we stop half in the courtyard, all over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead, stiff wrapped in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. And one more beautiful thing is seen here, one golden light. Another thing, many of the sparrows, they are again collected together. Body is not there, grandmother is not there, but these beautiful sparrows, they were still sitting in that veranda. Clear? They are still waiting for the person that she will come and she will feed us. And then there was no chirruping, but that day we had seen even the animals also, feeling of this bird you see, they were no shouting were there in the veranda. We felt sorry for the birds and my mother fed some bread for them. Now these birds, they are sitting over there, no sound is there, but my grandmother, like my mother was doing the same thing what my grandmother was doing. Okay? She brought some of the breads for the poor birds, but she broke it into little crumbs the way my grandmother used to, and threw them for the sparrows and took no notice of the bread. But what we had seen, that those animals, those birds, they were not at all eating the crumbs. No? My mother, she did the same thing. She tore the bread and she threw the bread in the same way in the veranda. But they have already noticed that the lady who was feeding us, that these are the things are not done by this lady. So no chirruping, no eating, nothing is there. The crumbs were as it is in the veranda. And then we carried my grandmother's corpse off and flew quietly. No? Corpse off means dead body. They have taken the dead body, and after that, after this procedure, the birds also flew away. Silently they flew away. Next morning, the sweeper swept the breadcrumb into the dustbin. And next day, when the crumbs were as it is, the sweeper collected all the things and threw the things into the dustbin. And then, so children, this is the lesson. Now you see what kind of emotions are there. When we are reading the lesson, we also feel that some dear person, some very lovable person of our family is dead. Clear? Here the grandmother character, very beautiful character of grandmother, how she loves the child. No? When the child is getting up, she is separated, but she was not showing her separation. And at the end also, that love, that affection towards the child she had shown in the form of this singing. Clear all of you? So this is altogether our chapter. Very important chapter, very nice also. When you yourself read, you have to feel. Clear? Even you share the story with your grandmother also, even with your mother also. She too loves the story. Understood? So this is our first chapter. Now please children, your too much time is wasted in your result, waiting for your result. But now please don't waste your time. Okay? Continue your work, continue your studies, along with other things also you have to continue. And hope so that definitely we'll meet very soon in our classroom. So till then, thank you all of you, and please keep studying. Okay?